Quito contact, Houston contact, air to ground 1.
Houston contact, Quito contact on air to ground 1.
Quito contact, Houston contact, meet me air to ground 2, please.
Roger.
Houston contact, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, into test. Roger, Quito, for this pass, we're going to wake up the crew at your site, and would you, at AOS, go constant key, air to ground 1. Thank you.
This is Mission Control, Houston. Mission elapsed time, 1 day, 20 hours, 40 minutes. There's still about 10 minutes remaining in the astronaut sleep period, but it's been apparent to the ground controllers that astronauts Young and Crippen have been awake for at least 30 minutes that we know of. We're just about a half a minute away from acquisition of signal at the Quito, Ecuador ground station, and I think we may anticipate wake-up action to be initiated by the flight control team during this pass. We should acquire air-to-ground transmission capability through the Quito, Ecuador station just momentarily. Mission lapse time, 1 day, 20 hours, 41 minutes. Columbia is on its 31st orbit of this planned 54.5 hour, 36 orbit mission. This is Shuttle Control, Houston.
Good morning, boys.
Oh, John.
Creepy. It's time to wake up. It's time to get up for the big splashdown today.
And both of you could use a shower.
Smells like Young's been into the instant breakfast drink again.
Come on.
Hi, this is Jim Bob Jumpback speaking, guys. And this is the new Katy Crippen rifles with the new Katy marching band. And they're forming a giant hook and horns on the field.
John. After 5 missions, you ought to have this down by now.
Hey, be nice to him. He's 50 years old.
Why, you jerk!
No, let him sleep. If he wakes, he'll just spill the coffee all over the controls again.
Hey, guys, it's Vice President Bush on the phone for you again.
Crip, get your helmet off the control stick. Pick up pizza number 22.
That's an inheritance.
Crippen, you waited 12 years for this. If you don't wake up, you're going to miss the whole darn mission.
Hey, Young is a rambling wreck from Georgia Tech.
Hey, wake up, you guys. Get it up. Come on, you better get to work. Come on, get to work. You guys got 300 government agencies to support up there. Come on.
Good morning, Columbia. This is Houston, and we have a real-time 482 for you.
A real-time after that?
That's affirmative. Real-time 482, and that last wake-up song, we'd like you to scratch out splashdown and insert touchdown.
Oh, okay. We'd appreciate that. Now hear this. Reveille, up all idlers, clean sweep down, 4 and a half. That means Crip. John runs a tight ship.
It sure sounds that way.
How's the Silver team doing this morning?
We're doing just great, and how you doing?
Okie doke. Thanks for helping us out with that little APU cooling problem last night. I was so asleep in the middle of that I couldn't think. I came back here and swore I threw switch 2 and got 1 instead.
Roger.
Yeah, we we got all your telephone messages off there. We appreciate that. You guys aren't doing nearly as good as you do in Sims as far as quantity.
Well, we ran out of things halfway through the night.
Well, Did you go by for the donuts this morning, Daniel? I think that's a great summary, Daniel.
Roger.
John even had the coffee made this morning when I got up.
Well, that's good. We're noticing that APU-2, that same problem we had last night, heater gas gen fuel pump on number 2 is temps coming down again.
Okay.
And we're going to keep an eye on that for a few seconds for you here. We have 2 minutes and 10 seconds yet to LOS, and when you get down to here a little bit further, the checkpoint is not required this morning.
Okay, I appreciate that. I want to know how you got Cooley to give up a trip out to the West Coast.
Yeah, we got him handcuffed and hog-tied to a console down here.
Ah, yes. He's been there before.
Well, it looks like you're going to have a real pretty day for entry, so we figured we'd keep him handy here.
Sounds good. Well, Richard, I can even recognize the Southern Cross. I couldn't believe it. It's right out my window right now.
Get a gold star for star recognition, huh?
John does all that. He just points them out to me.
And Cripp, we feel that APU gas gen heater is down. We'd like you to switch back to Bravo and give that one a try while we can still watch it.
Okay. Okay, we're on Bravo.
Roger, and we're 30 seconds from LOS. We'll be seeing you at Bermuda at 20 plus 50. That's day 1, 20 plus 50, and we'll keep an eye on it when we get over there.
Okay. Okay, Daniel, that was a great wake-up call, whatever that was.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
This is Mission Control Houston. Mission elapsed time, 1 day, 20 hours, 48 minutes. During that pass, it was determined that the problem with auxiliary power unit number 2, the heater to that auxiliary power unit, apparently still inoperative. That's the same unit which awoke the crew about in the middle of their sleep period last night. Just before loss of signal, Capcom Dan Brandenstein instructed Bob Crippen to switch that back to heater unit number B, which was a unit that malfunctioned last night. We are presently out of sight of a ground station. We'll acquire a signal in about a minute and a half at Guam, and at that point we'll be able to get a better determination on whether the switch to that other heating unit will have helped out that auxiliary power situation. Should have acquisition of signal at Guam in just a little over a minute. This is Mission Control Houston.
Hello, Columbia. We have you for 4.5 minutes through Bermuda, and we're looking at that temp, and it still looks like it's going down us.
That's how it looks to us. Hey, Dan, also I'd like to know, have I got to go to interconnect RCS to the right on?
That's affirmative, Cripp.
Okay, I'll pick that up in just a minute.
And Columbia, the reason we're doing that, the guidance people want to shave a couple hundredths off the YCG.
We're all for a clean shave. A couple hundredths plus or minus a half inch.
That's affirmative. In Columbia, Houston, we're about 30 seconds from LOS. We'd like on that APU GG bed temp, we'd like to go back to heater alpha again, please, and we're still trying to scope it out. And we'll be talking to you at Madrid at 21 plus 02.
Okay, Dan, we copy.
This is Mission Control Houston. Mission elapsed time 1 day, 20 hours, 56 minutes. Had loss of signal at Guam. Next voice station will be Madrid, which we will acquire in about 5.5 minutes. The duration of that pass, 6 minutes, 45 seconds. Just before loss of signal, Capcom Dan Brandenstein instructed the crew to switch back to heater A on the auxiliary power unit. The orbiter has 3 auxiliary power units, which power the orbiter's flight control system actuators, main engine thrust vector control actuators, and utility actuators. The temperature problem is in APU auxiliary power unit number 2. The temperatures, bed temperatures in beds number 1 and 3 are
Houston Comtech, testing 1,
300
3, 4,
98
5,
degrees
test out.
and 416 degrees Fahrenheit
Madrid,
respectively.
Houston, air to ground 1.
And APU number 2, the bed temperature is 284 degrees, significantly lower than the other 2 APUs. The concern is that if the temperature in that APU bed gets far below nominal, why that it may be difficult to, or impossible to start. The APUs are sized, however, so that any 2 of the 3 systems can perform all flight control systems, can perform all flight control functions. And we'll have acquisition of signal at Madrid in 3.5 minutes. And at that point, we'll be able to determine whether or not the process of switching back to heater number A will have had any positive effect on the temperature in the APU bed number 2. Mission elapsed time is now 1 day, 20 hours, 58 minutes. This is Mission Control Houston. This is Mission Control Houston. This is Mission Control Houston. We're just 10 seconds away from acquisition of signal over Madrid. This is Mission Control Houston.
Hello, Columbia. We're talking to you through Madrid. We have you for 6 minutes and 10 seconds.
Hello, Daniel.
Hello. And we're still looking at that GG bed temp, and it looks like it's not coming up for us.
Just what it looks like, that's also.
It's Mission Control Houston. The temperature in APU number 2 heater bed continues to drop. Is now 268 degrees Fahrenheit.
And Columbia, Houston, state vector looks great. We won't be updating at this pass, and we're still looking at that APU GG bed temp.
Okay, Daniel. There's no clouds in Boston today. I got 2 great pictures of it.
Roger, Columbia, understand. Sounds like you're taking pictures. On that GG bed temp, there's a secondary circuit that temp should stabilize between 85 and 100.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on it.
And Cripp, we're going to continue to work this and come up with some entry start procedures.
Okay.
In Columbia, we're 20 seconds from LOS. We'll be talking to you at Yargity at 21 plus 50.
Roger that. Getting a nice view of Italy this morning. There's our old favorite Naples down there. Off of Napoli. And Roma.
This Mission Control Houston, we've had loss of signal at the Madrid station. Those last remarks from Columbia pilot Bob Crippen indicating visual sight of Italy. Mission elapsed time now 1 day, 21 hours, 8 minutes. Cycling back and forth between heaters A and B on APU number 2 have proved to be ineffectual. The temperature and the APU number 2 bed, as we lost signal, was 262 degrees Fahrenheit. However, the flight control team here in the Mission Operations Control Room in Houston is confident that we'll be able to start that auxiliary power unit and are now working up start procedures. There's a system which will inhibit the APU bed from getting below 85 to 100 degrees, and with some modified starting procedures that should be adequate to get that APU operating for entry. Again, this is one of 3 APUs, auxiliary power units, which are required for entry to power Columbia's aerodynamic surfaces, and 2 of those 3 units would be mandatory for entry. And once again, confidence is high that it will be possible to start that malfunctioning APU. Columbia is now on orbit 31, presently over the Mediterranean. Have acquisition of signal at Yargady, Australia in approximately 25 minutes. We'll have signal at Yargady for slightly more than 8 minutes. Mission elapsed time now 1 day, 21 hours, 10 minutes. This is Mission Control Houston. This Mission Control Houston, mission elapsed time is 1 day, 21 hours, 29 minutes. Continued inquiry into the nature of the problem with the auxiliary power unit continues to look encouraging. Test data indicates that the auxiliary power units have been started when the bed temperature has been as low as 50 degrees and lower. It has the effect of limiting the lifetime utility of the auxiliary power unit. And APU start, motor start, and build up to speed remains kind of sluggish at that temperature, but it nevertheless will certainly be operative. Have acquisition of signal in about 4.5 minutes at Yargady, Australia. Early on in that communication, the Capcom will uplink that information to the flight crew. Mission elapsed time is now 1 day, 21 hours, 30 minutes. This is Mission Control Houston. This Mission Control Houston will have acquisition of voice contact through Yargady momentarily.
In Columbia, we're 20 seconds from LOS. We'll see you at the Roro at 2 minutes. Well, that's good. I hope they were all smiling.
Loss of signal at Yargady, acquisition again at Royal Valley, and about 30 seconds. That was John Young's remark about the aesthetic qualities of Australia. Temperature in the APU number 2 bed apparently had stabilized at about 262 degrees and that is well within the tolerances of starting that unit. Again, earlier test data indicated that it would start at temperatures of 50 degrees and lower. Mission elapse time, 1 day, 21 hours, 44 minutes. This is Mission Control Houston.
And Columbia, we're talking to you through Aurora now, and we have you for 4.5 minutes.
Roger that, Dan.
Mission Control Houston, temperature in the APU number 2 bed is now 220 degrees.
Daniel, can Rick see those torquing angles?
Roger, we see them and they look real good, Cripp. And we're about 40 seconds from LOS. We'll see you at Mila at 22 plus 19.
22:19 at Mila.
Roger.
Talking now. Talking now.
Roger, we copy.
Hey, Dan, you got any dump values for me for water?
That's affirmative. There will be no dump for Alpha or Bravo.
On the way. Okay.
Roger, Cripp. There's no dumps required at all for the water.
Okay, doke.
Mission Control Houston. Had loss of signal at Yargity, acquisition of signal in 29.5 minutes at Mylar. Mission elapse time, 1 day, 21 hours, 49 minutes. Columbia is on orbit number 32 of this planned 36-hour Earth orbital, or 36 orbit mission. This is Mission Control Houston.
Mila contact, Houston contact, air to ground 1.
Houston contact, Mila contact, air ground 1, loud and clear.
Roger, Bermuda contact, Houston contact, air to ground 1. Bermuda contact, Houston contact, air to ground 1.
Bermuda contact?
Okay, Mile and Bermuda, meet me air to ground 2. Houston contact, test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in the test. Roger, how about air to ground 1? Thank you.
Houston contact, Mila contact, I was 100% keen. I didn't have a turnaround up.
Roger, copy. Mila, Houston contact.
Mila?
Would you configure for teleprinter uplink on air to ground 2, configuration Lima?
Roger, I am configured.
Thank you.
This is Mission Control Houston. Flight Director Don Putty and the Crimson, or entry, team of flight controllers is in the Mission Operations Control Room now, preparing to take over their console positions at approximately 4:30 this morning, Central Standard Time. This will be the last planned change of flight control teams. Mission elapse time is 1 day, 22 hours, 19 minutes. We will momentarily have acquisition of signal over the States for a period of 8 minutes.
Hello, Columbia. Talking to you through Mila. We have you over the States for 11 plus 20.
Okay, loud and clear.
Roger, read you the same. And the only thing we have to pass at this time is the CRT timer set up whenever you're ready to copy.
Okay. Go ahead, Daniel.
Roger, it's for entry day. It's item 17, plus 5, plus 21, plus 30.
Okay, tick time is 5 hours, 21 minutes, and 30 seconds, 30 seconds.
Roger, that's correct.
You have to excuse me, I'll have a hard time talking with my mouth full of dried apricots.
Oh, sounds delicious.
Oh, yeah, but we had sausage, eggs, mush flakes, as John calls them.
Well, you'll be happy to know that we had midnight burritos.
Midnight burritos. I knew it would come to that. John completed that RCS checkout, and to the best of our knowledge, all those jets fired properly.
Roger.
And you do have the dope on the IMU alignment, don't you?
Oh, that's affirmative, Columbia.
Okay. I don't even know what I'm eating. That was dried peaches, not dried apricots.
Oh. Big difference there, I guess, huh?
You certainly sound enthusiastic, again. Especially after being up all night. What I want to know, does the real thing beat simulation as far as you guys are concerned?
It sure does. Not only is it a lot more fun, we get to see these neat movies during the night of you guys having a good time up there.
Well, uh-oh. Well, it's miles ahead as far as we're concerned. Or miles above. Dan, do you know if they've looked at any of that accelerometer data that we had on launch and some of those oscillations we had right there, either after shutdown, before SEP, and before doing the dump or after the dump there?
Stand by one.
That's no big thing. I just wanted to know if those were the places where I remember that they occurred, so I want y'all to know that. They're just like pulses back and forth or up and down. And they might have been like the tank unloading or something like that.
Roger. We saw some dynamics during the main engine stow, but that was the only thing we saw.
Maybe that's what it was.
And we do have a question. Over Aurora, before your wake-up call, we were wondering what, you can recall what AC equipment you have on. We're trying to get a signature of what was running there. The question is, was it a vacuum cleaner?
Negative. We had a food warmer on.
Roger.
Yeah, you guys are getting ready to send a teleprompter message. That's what it was. We just turned on the food warmer. Might also comment, Daniel, that when we documented it with photos, but we did pick up some streaking on the forward windows stage and staging.
Roger.
For landing, but there is a little bit of streaking and specks picked up as a result of that.
Roger, we copy.
I'm hopeful that movies we took will show that phenomenon. That's really something.
And Columbia, Houston, we didn't copy that. That was pretty much down in the mud.
Okay, I was just saying, I hope the movies out the side window show that phenomenon. That was a pretty phenomenal event.
Roger, we copy that, Columbia.
Dan, if you got, I heard one message coming up. You got some more traffic coming up. I'll just wait if you do.
Stand by, Crippen, we're checking. Columbia, Houston, we did not send a teleprinter message recently.
You didn't?
No, and we, okay, we were going to send something, but we didn't get the right tone, so that might explain what you heard.
Oh, okay, fine.
In Columbia, Houston, we're 30 seconds from LOS. We'll see you at Madrid at 22:35.
Bye-bye.
This Mission Control Houston, mission elapsed time 1 day, 22 hours, 31 minutes. At loss of signal over the United States mainland, Columbia is now on orbit 32, out over the middle of the Atlantic. Acquisition of signal in approximately 4 minutes at Madrid. Temperature in the APU number 2. Bed temperature has dropped now to 186 degrees. Mission elapsed time, 1 day, 22 hours, 31 minutes. This is Mission Control, Houston.
Madrid, Comtech, Houston, air to ground 1.
Madrid, Comtech.
So you're 5 by, let me multi-access and key both of these circuits. Houston, Comtech, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, test out.
Roger, keying 100%, voice call.
On both circuits?
Both circuits.
Roger, you can configure for the pass.
Mission Control, Houston. Mission elapsed time, 1 day, 22 hours, 33 minutes. Preparing for handover from the Silver team to the Crimson team here in the Mission Operations Control Room. Outgoing Flight Director Neil Hutchison will be available for a press conference at 5 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time in the News Center, Building 2, Room 135, here at Johnson Space Center. That time again will be 5 a.m. Central Standard Time. This will be the last change of shift briefing for the flight director of the entry team. Acquisition of signal in 1 minute at Madrid. Mission elapsed time 1 day, 22 hours, 34 minutes. This is Mission Control, Houston.
Hello, Columbia, talking to you through Madrid, and we have you for 7 minutes.
Yeah, read your line clear. Hello, down.
Roger, read you the same.
Are you still with us there, Dan?
Yes, we are, and we have you for 5.5 minutes yet.
Okay. Well, there it goes again. Al Pennington might note that I was doing a playback of a VTR tape that we did yesterday on the monitor here, and I noticed that I'm getting a camera over temp indication periodically, and I don't have any cameras on. I'm not sure what that phenomena is, but that shouldn't be anything to be concerned about.
Roger, we copy, Columbia. Just stand by a second. And, Cripp, Inco was wondering if you're done with your TV tape, TV work.
I'll be in just a second. Does the gap need it?
No, he doesn't need it. He was just asking.
Okay. I'm just trying to find clean position on this feature, on this particular cassette.
Roger.
Also, an interesting feature while I'm doing this, that under the camera command, the lights down there, the ALC and the gamma, are just sitting there flashing back and forth. All kinds of combinations. I don't think we're going to watch any Monday Night Football on this playback machine up there. With all those lights flashing and the camera over temperature light on it. We can probably find something even better to put on the VTR.
And Columbia, we believe if when you're finished, if you turn the VCU off, it'll all cool down and your problems will be solved.
I don't have any problems.
Okay, the TV manifestations will be gone.
Okay. Johnny, I concur. I think that's all it is. There, that'll make everybody happy.
Roger.
When do you guys go on shift, Dan?
Well, it won't be much longer now.
You sound like you're looking forward to it.
Well, not really, but we're looking forward to the entry. In fact, this is the last pass of STS-1 for the silver team, and you guys sure gave us a thrill on that launch, and we really enjoyed working with you the rest of the hop. We hope you have a safe flight home, and we'll see you tonight.
Well, that's mighty kind, Dan. The silver team really done it. You guys did good work.
Well, there was a lot of people stroking pretty hard, and it looks like we had a good machine to work with. So we're 20 seconds from LOS. The Crimson team will pick you up at Indy at 22 plus 54. And I'll see you guys later.
Okay, we're just mighty glad you didn't have to practice any of those things that you knew so much about there. And we will see you tonight or in the morning.
Roger.
This is Mission Control at 1 day, 22 hours, 53 minutes mission elapsed time. Columbia approaching acquisition through the Indian Ocean Station. Shift has changed here in the Mission Control Center. Crimson team on duty with Flight Director Don Putty. Capcoms are astronauts Joe Allen and Rick Hauk.
Columbia, this is Houston. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, Columbia. This is Houston. Good morning. From the Crimson team. How do you read? Over. Okay, Cripp, we read you. We might have some minor comm problems here. They've had some bad weather around IOS, and we've got some comm links that may not be quite up to par. We'll be with you for 5 minutes on this pass, and are we running day 2 or day 3 timeline today? Say it again, Bob. It's broken. Roger that. It may be peculiar only to iOS. Nothing to worry about. We're broadcasting now, transmitting on air to ground 1 only. How does this sound? Alrighty, we're with you for 4 minutes, and nothing special to pass up to you other than good morning. We're looking forward to today. We were told that this is not a simulation today. Do you agree?
I hope you're right.
Okay, John. Take care. We'll see you. Later on today, I assume you're coming back.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, that's right, John. I forget John's over there at night. You didn't pull any of that lousy duty with us.
Columbia, we're 30 seconds from LOS. We'll see you next Yargady in about 8 minutes.
Yargady in 8.
This is Mission Control. Columbia's out of range at the Indian Ocean Station now. Change of shift briefing will begin momentarily in room 135 at the JSC News Center. At 1 day, 23 hours, 1 minute mission elapsed time. This is Mission Control, Houston.
From Johnson News Center. Change of shift briefing for the Silver Team. To my immediate right, Charlie Dumas. ECOM for the Silver Team. To my extreme right, Neil Hutchison, Silver Team Flight Director. Neil?
Glad to see a few of you hardy people up this early. We had another fairly quiet night, at least in terms of my experience with simulations in the control center last night. We did have one small unfortunate incident. The crew was woken by an alarm right in the middle of their sleep period last night on a piece of equipment. And we had to talk to them for part of one site pass to get the thing under tow. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I don't think they were up very long, maybe 15 minutes total. Both crewmen were up, although Crippen didn't talk. I'm sure he was doing the switch throwing, and John did talk to us on the radio. It was just about halfway through the sleep period. They got up a little early this morning. They were up before we called them. We noticed them up. We can always tell when they get up because they turn on the TVs, and we saw the food warmer going probably about 25 minutes before we expected it to be. So they're rip ready and raring to get on with the day. Give you a couple of data points on our preliminary entry plan. Deorbit burn. I always call it retrofire. I guess I'll never call it anything else. But the deorbit burn is currently scheduled for 53 hours, 21 minutes, and 30 seconds. Delta V is 279 feet per second. That gives us a landing at Edwards, wheels down at 12:22 Central Standard Time, which is fairly close to nominal. Awfully close to nominal. As you're aware, the rest of the activities in the flight are finishing the entry preparations, getting the suits on, closing the payload bay doors, and then coming home. That's all that's going to go on today. We had one more anomaly last night, the one that woke them up, and it continued to bother us several hours later, right after they woke up normally. It has to do with, and that's one reason I brought Charlie Dumas with me, it has to do with a heater in the reactant bed of APU number 2. That malfunctioned. When it malfunctioned, the temperature started down. It first malfunctioned while the crew was asleep. They were out of contact with the ground. It looked good at one site. About 45 minutes later, we got them at another site, and right during the site pass, we noticed that the temperature was way off, and during the site pass, the onboard system gave them an alarm. Crew woke up, of course,
Roger.
turned on the TVs, called up a display, discovered what it was. They were kind of sleepy, and so we decided to call them on the radio and tell them what switch to go throw to select an alternate heater, and we did that. They were probably up about 15 minutes. They selected another heater. The temperature came right back up. They went back to bed. Then lo and behold, this morning, right after they woke up, the second heater appears to have failed, and we now apparently have no ability to get heat into that bed at all. Other than causing a slightly abnormal start procedure, which involves overriding some of the automatic shutdown parameters in the APU, we don't think this is going to have any effect on us at all. The bed heaters are there basically to preserve the total lifetime of the APU. I'm going to let Charlie talk some about that if you have any questions, but we don't think this failure mode is going to bother us. There is some consideration being given in the control center now to whether we want to change the order of starting the APUs and so on and so forth based on the anomaly. I kind of doubt it'll end up being changed at all. Most of the reentry activity is completely normal. Probably the biggest change we've got is we have decided to use the secondary gimbal on the right OHM's engine, secondary gimbals, because of a slight sluggishness that was observed during the last couple of OHM's burns. We actually, it looked like the gimbal got hung a little bit on OHM's 2, the second burn into orbit. That engine was last used for OHM's 3, and we had evidence that the gimbal was a little sluggish there, and so we've chosen to use the secondary drive unit. If anything were to go wrong with the secondary, I believe the primary is completely adequate to do the burn, but we just decided to go with the best one we had. That's about it. Questions?
Sure. Please wait for the microphone and state your name and your affiliation.
Steve Vicker, National Public Radio. Could you just go over the heater problem a little bit more, explain exactly what the heater is supposed to do and what sort of problem it's going to present?
I'll let Charlie do that. I told you everything I know.
What it's supposed to do, the catalyst bed in the APU, the gas generator bed, is supposed to be kept or is thermostatically controlled to around 400 degrees. The heater's supposed to keep it there. In addition to that, some of the heat that is applied there is conducted to fuel lines and perhaps the fuel pump to keep them warm and keep the fuel from freezing. Without them, the gas generator bed will cool down. We don't expect any impact as far as starting the APU, but there is some hazard. I really believe we can discount it since there's not much time left in the flight, but that we could get some problem with a hazard of freezing the fuel. I don't expect that, but on a cold flight we might get that sometime. This situation recurred.
I think before we'd ever let anything like that happen, we'd probably start the unit early, heat it up, and then turn it off again. We have the means to preclude that.
You had 3 of these, and now you only have 1?
2 and 0 on that unit, on APU 2.
Only.
Oh yes, 3 APUs, and we think we still have 3 APUs. 2 heaters on each APU, on the gas generator bed, and on 1 APU we've lost them both, apparently.
Hello,
The APUs are discussed on, I think,
for 7 minutes.
414 in the shuttle news reference diagrams. Bob Gordon? Sure.
Okay, Cripp. You're clear, a little weak, but certainly readable.
Up here.
Taylor, ABC. How does the preliminary weather look for the landing sites? Also, Neil, I'd like to get your feelings as you leave your console for the last time in this flight about the mission.
Well, the first one first. The weather is absolutely superb at Edwards. Everything we know says that we're going to have just a really keen day. The weather is clear.
There are a
couple very, very light cloud decks, but they're not even, at least from recognize this as we need to really wait till the sun comes up to see what any kind of heating is going to do. But they're very, very thin. One at 25, I think, and one at 8. I'm not sure. They were so irrelevant that I didn't pay much attention to them. Almost no wind. It's almost calm. Probably be some very light winds from 240 to 270 by the time we get ready to land. They always seem to pick up as the day goes on, but nothing that would merit any consideration of changing runways or any crosswind problems or anything like that. So it looks like it's really going to be just a super day weather-wise. Northrop's not so hot. Of course, we don't have any intentions of using Northrop. Northrop is the place that provides a potential for us if we get into a underburn, significant underburn, which of course no one expects to have. Northrop, the weather's lousy, pretty well socked in. As far as leaving the console, gosh, it's I don't know. I've been waiting for this for so long. It's kind of hard to sum up. I guess I think that it probably will take a number of days for me to sit back and I think this is true of almost all the guys, to sit back and realize how well the vehicle performed. I mean, if you were to sit down and look at all the anomalies that we had the whole flight, 90% of them were measurements and instrumentations and thermostats that didn't quite go right. We all think this will make for getting the vehicle back down to the Cape and turned around and going again, probably in a heck of a hurry, which of course is another exciting prospect of another launch fairly soon. That makes me feel good to think that we might not, that if we'd had a big anomaly going up or a big anomaly in the air, we'd be sitting on the ground for 6 months or a year trying to figure out what went wrong and what we had to do to fix it. Frankly, I'm pretty proud to be a part of this operation. I think all things considered, and NASA, the NASA that put this thing, NASA and industry, underlying the industry that put this thing together, we worked here over the last number of years certainly not under the budgetary freedom that we had when we built the Apollo. Now, admittedly, we didn't have to recover from an anomaly like the Apollo fire, but all things considered, I think the taxpayers got their money. We put together a heck of a machine. And if it flies as well subsequently as it's flown so far, I don't think any of us here, even the folks who are working on the program, realize what we've got in our hands here.
Carlos, thanks.
On this idea of a fast turnaround for the STS-2, what is the schedule on that, and could you comment on, well, it's my understanding that regardless of what y'all have got on paper right now, the load won't be ready to go until fall. September, October.
I don't have any first-hand knowledge of that. Now, I can't. Do you UPO folks know exactly when the launch date is? I really can't. I have been fooling with STS-1 for so long and putting September is the official date. I don't know whether anybody would want to try and beat that or not. I think it's important. The point I was trying to make was that it's important to recognize that to date, we are not back on the ground yet, but to date we don't have anything that would even remotely suggest that date would be in jeopardy. And that's got to be a real plus, considering this is the first time we got this guy in the air.
How much earlier than planned did the crew get up, and did they say anything about why that was? And also, has there been anything in the air-to-ground that suggests either anticipation about the return this morning or a reluctance to leave what they've been able to do up there in the last couple of days?
probably, well, let me answer the first question first. They were up about 30 minutes early this morning, as best we could tell. Now, you know, they came over a site that was about 30 minutes before our wake-up site, and the food warmer was on. So, you know, at least 30 minutes early it might have been.
We're with you another minute and a half.
I think.
We'll be pleased to hear that no gyro bias updates will be required.
You know, we only had 4 or 5 sites with them before I went off, but they are obviously.
We'll give you a reminder, and that is we need
really looking forward to the reentry.
Fuel cell purge, manual fuel cell purge.
I'm sure there's a lot of keen anticipation there.
Over.
I know there is, and the
we'll go LOS
guys that
here
are
in
over
a
there in the
minute.
control center now, the other team, the Crimson team, is getting ready to do the entry.
We'll say.
Just
we'll check
the same kind of anticipation there was on our part and on the crew's part before launch, I'm sure.
FCS checkout.
I did. We look at the movies once in a while during long LOSs that are taken during the day. My team does, and I did notice. We looked at their movies yesterday, and they really seem to be enjoying it. And I have noticed several times, particularly Crippen, make comments that, "Gosh, you wish that this wasn't going to be over tomorrow, or it sure got over fast, or etc." So I think there probably is some mixed emotion there in regards to coming home. They kind of like wouldn't mind at all hanging around another few days. But we've done every single thing we wanted to do, and it's time to get on and do the entry. So sure we'll do that.
Smith, Science Magazine. At the last change of shift briefing, there was a lot of discussion about the recorder problem. Could you tell us if you've resolved that problem, and how, and then why you chose that particular avenue of resolution?
Yes, we have resolved what we're going to do. What we're going to do is, prior to seat ingress, we are going to start the recorder and let it run all the way to landing, and probably about 20 minutes after landing, as soon as the crew has egressed to seats after landing, get back there and pull that circuit breaker and stop it again. We investigated a whole bunch of different things. As you're well aware, yesterday during the day we tried to change it out. The crew couldn't break the bolts loose on the recorder to do it. We tried to exchange it with another recorder. We had developed a procedure, kind of a jury rig scheme, to manipulate the circuit breaker while strapped in the seat with a thing we call a swizzle stick, which is nothing but a long aluminum pole with a little fitting on the end and a line. And it was kind of a, I won't say Mickey Mouse, but it was obviously not the keenest way to do something. And we tried it out over in the SMS and did at least prove that if we were careful, we might be able to set such a device up. However, it would have been fairly hard to explain on the air ground, and we discarded that one. The recorder, we've finished all the analysis of the recorder, and there's either one of three things going on with it. The recorder may be broken, completely broken. There is a possibility that the tape has come clear off the cap stands and it is not running. The recorder may have a logic problem, the one you've just I believe has been described to you, where it is stuck in continuous record. We are also not sure if the potential obviously exists to have a logic problem in the recorder. We are not absolutely positive that the logic responded properly in switching tracks. Now, what that logic is supposed to do, we deliberately started the recorder at launch, before launch, about 5 minutes before launch, those things are started, on track 3. It has 14 tracks, okay? And we did that so that if we ever pulled power on the recorder has some automatic logic that's supposed to skip back to track 1. And if power was ever interrupted on it, we wanted to make sure we didn't overwrite the launch data. Well, as you're aware, we interrupted power on it deliberately in order to stop it. If the logic works right, it's back on track 1 again. It went back to track 1 then. So that
Roger,
poses a
sounds
little
like a good
problem.
idea.
We're not quite
We'll
sure
send
where
up,
where it
another
is.
copy to you.
If it didn't skip back, it's
How's the
probably
echo
on
effect
track
right now?
7.
It
It's
should
got
be
a
much
whole
better.
bunch of
It's much
spare
better
tape
on-
sitting
on
there
the
just
ground.
waiting to be used. The tracks are 30 minutes long. There's plenty of tape to start it and run it all the way to landing and not interfere with anything. If it went back to track 1, we are going to, with the procedure that we're using, we're going to erase some data from launch. Now, we didn't have a lot of anomalies in launch, first off. Hardly any that I know of. Secondly, we have verified that same data is telemetered real-time to the ground. We have verified we have good data at Mila, PDL, and Bermuda, so we have the entire powered flight phase, plus all of OMS 1 through OMS 1 cutoff already on the ground in good shape.
Roger.
And so we chose to go ahead, the easiest thing, and if providing that recorder is running, that we could do was to go ahead and turn it on just before the crew got in the seats and let it run,
The message we're
and
talking
hope that
about
it's
is
either on
26
track
Delta.
7.
It may
Well,
well
first
be
off,
lost
hope that
in
it's
the
running
mail,
because we
and
do
we'll
want to get
just,
that data.
send it to you.
And secondly, hope that it's on track 7 and it's going to run forward. And if it's not, we're going to lose some of the ascent data. It's going to be overwritten with entry data.
Is all of the ascent data that's been recorded duplicated elsewhere on the ground?
No, only that which,
Okay, no problem.
as you're aware, those DFI recorders cannot be dumped. So only when we had contact with the vehicle, and that's what I was explaining. We have all of the main stage, all the first stage, all the second stage, all of the OMS 1, crew cutoff of OMS 1, which includes ET separation, all the big dynamic stuff is all on the ground and been verified to be good data. It's all been checked.
Bob,
so, you know, if we override some data, we'll be losing, for example, the data between OMS 1 and OMS 2, some of the second OMS burn.
But otherwise, no
part of
problem
the
at all.
reconfiguration,
And,
well, none of that
we have
none of that
test data
GPS stuff is on there,
shows
but some data
an
in that
APU
time
starting
frame,
with temperatures much
basically from
colder
like
than what you all will be
15
carrying
minutes to
at the time you
45
start 'em.
minutes or so. Tracks work.
But I do understand you want me to try.
So I asked at the last briefing how important this data was to you.
Bob,
what
the
the
plan
consequences
now
would
is
be
we
if you
want you
lost
to
it,
go to
whether that
start
would be considered a
override,
major or minor
for the
loss.
first try
They
even.
said that it was extremely important. Do you feel the same way about it?
Oh yeah, we don't want to lose any data, but the fact of the matter is that since we went through ascent so well, and the dynamic portions of ascent we have data for
On
that.
that subject,
I think
and as a
people
reminder,
are not.
That means you'll have to lead the start by
We
about
want to get that
3.5
entry data
minutes.
too real bad, and so we've set
we're
our
going over
priorities,
the hill
and the
now.
priorities are that we
back in
believe if we lose a little bit of the
about,
ascent
30
data,
minutes.
in order to regain the entry data, we've done the right thing. Now, if the recorder's broken, you know, we may not have either one of it.
I guess I'm sorry, I meant the thermal reentry data when I said how important is it to you.
Oh, it's very important. And I'm not sure all of the things that are on that DFI recorder, but there's a lot of stuff on there that we really would like to get.
Information out of the entire mission?
Oh no. The most important thing out of the entire mission is the shuttle vehicles on the runway at Edwards in one piece by a long shot.
Let's go to Kennedy and see if any questions at KSC. Hello, Kennedy.
Yeah, it's John Pine of Reuters. I don't want to bring up the tile subject again, really, but I feel I have to. There was a report last night that through the high-resolution photography at Palomar in Hawaii, you, meaning space scientists, have determined that there was absolutely no damage at all to the tiles on the underbelly of the craft. Can you comment on that at all?
This is Neil Hutchinson, and yeah, I have a statement. We've examined all the available data relative to the thermal protection system and have concluded we have no basis for altering our plans for entry or landing.
Thank you.
Anything else from Kennedy?
Nothing further, thank you.
Yes, sir. Here back at Johnson.
John Carey, Newsweek. Two more heater questions. Any clues as to what caused the failures? And two, how will the APU startup procedures be changed?
First, I don't have any clue as to what caused them. There doesn't appear to be any single thing that would cause it, so I presume that both heaters failed in some manner. There are several things that could have caused it, but I don't. Could have been the heater element itself or drivers, electrical circuit. There's no way I can determine which of those may have done it. Second, the only thing that may change in the startup procedure is if presuming that we don't start the APU to warm it up, we'll have to, and the temperature gets lower than 190 degrees, which it just about was when we left.
It will be if we don't start it up,
yeah.
I'm sure.
We will have to start the APU and start override instead of just the start position.
It's 190 degrees Fahrenheit or centigrade?
190 degrees Fahrenheit, yes. If it is below that, we'll have to start the APUs in the start override position. That is a delay of about 3 minutes, and then it starts up. The reason for that is there's a APU start signal that's required to start in the other position.
There's an interlock that won't let it start if that bed is not up to temperature. Basically, isn't that right, Charles?
Yes, that's right.
What is the impact of an early start on the reentry itself?
I don't think we'd started early. It's just going to take longer to start it. You know, our APU plan. Let's see. Our plan right now is we start 2 and 3 at the nominal time, which is what is it? TIG minus
3 minutes.
TIG minus ohms 2 TIG ohms 2. Gee, tell I'm an ascent guy. Deorbit ignition minus 3 minutes. And then we put them to depress, and I believe this unit we were going to start 2 and 3.
Yes.
And then we start the third one after deorbit prior to entry interface. Now, I told you that the entry team, as far as I know, is not considering any changes in that sequence, but it wouldn't surprise me. For example, they may choose to start this guy as the last one. I don't know. I don't know why they would change the sequence. I don't think they have a reason to do that at this time. But the fact it takes 3 extra minutes, we might, in order to keep it, if they start that guy first, they may take it back a couple of minutes early. We have plenty of APU fuel, though. We're really fat on APU propellant, so 3 minutes would not make any
well, you don't use fuel during those 3 minutes.
Pardon?
You don't use fuel during those 3 minutes.
That's true. But if we had to back it up, you're right. In the end, he's exactly right. That wasn't a correct statement. It won't cost you an ounce of fuel extra, because you just start the procedure 3 minutes early, but the APU comes up at the same time.
Up front here.
Would you please let me know the temperature in the crew cabin before and after the travel?
That had no bearing on it, but the temperature was, as we were reading it, was around 75 degrees, I believe.
It got a little cooler last night than it did night before. Now, we had provided the crew with a different procedure for last night if they felt the need to warm the cabin up, and the procedure was to turn on the second water loop and change we're still trying to understand how to balance the thermals on the vehicle. They didn't choose to do that, so I'm assuming that they didn't say anything about being cold this morning, so they probably slept in their long johns or something.
There again.
Well, the announcement said that you verified the soundness of the tiles by DOD data. By any chance that the DOD data include some photograph of reconnaissance satellites?
I can't go into any detail on that subject.
Carlos, Myers?
On the APU problem, you have 3 APUs, there's 2 heaters each, but if you simply can't start up this ailing APU, how is that going to affect the mission?
It won't. We have complete capability reentering on 2 APUs. It does make one difference when we get to about 80,000 feet and Mach 3.5. we go to high speed on the remaining two to put a little more horsepower to the aero surfaces. I believe that's essentially the only change, isn't it, Charlie? If we end up with only two?
That's all there is.
Not to raise something unnecessarily, but is it possible that one will handle the load?
Yes. Not possible, one will.
Was it a mistake that the information on the ability to use the high-power Earth photography, was it a mistake that got out?
Oh, no. No, I don't think so at all. No. I'm not sure why you would refer to it as a mistake. I mean, we were just trying to use all available data sources that we had to ascertain the status of the tile, and did so.
Specifically, was it a mistake that you announced where two of these cameras existed? Because since that time, no other locations have been announced, and very little information about those specific locations has been provided.
Gosh, I couldn't answer that. As far as I know, that was not a mistake, and as far as I know, those two locations are the only two that were ever involved. And that's to my own personal knowledge. That's so I don't think that was a mistake, if you want to call it a mistake or whatever.
I'm sorry, I'm still not quite clear on how you will warm up the APU.
We're not gonna. We're gonna warm it up by starting it up. And the fact of the matter is that...
but it doesn't start until it's above 190? You can't start it?
You don't let it... The APU is, we believe, will start, or we have information that it will start as low as 50 degrees.
We have test data that says it'll start as low as 50 degrees. Hard test data. We've started one. Now, the 190 that Charlie was quoting is the limit on the automatic logic that puts an inhibit. You have to use the start override procedure, which inhibits the limits and does this slow startup procedure below that temperature. And we will probably have to do that.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
Last question about the latest entry in the wake-up call contest. Who put Spike Jones together this morning?
Who's ahead? I don't think it's a contest between the ground and the air. The crew seemed to enjoy the wake-up call a lot this morning. Well, some of us here were involved in putting the one together this morning. That was a local Houston effort. Does that answer the question well enough?
Yes. I'm being passed questions from people who are too sleepy to make it over here. At what point... Can
we do that with answers?
At what point will Young take over? Can he do it earlier than programmed if he wants?
Certainly. And the standard procedure we have coming in, and it varies. I have run a lot of entries with this crew and with the backup crew, and sometimes it's at 35 or 40,000 feet. Sometimes he lets it go down to 28. I would guess this morning somewhere between 50 and 30,000 feet. You can rest assured that John will have control of the vehicle and have it from then on to the ground.
Thank you all very much for coming up. Thank you, Neil.
Yeah.
Thank you.